We are living in a computer-programmed reality, and the only clue we have to it is when some variable is changed and some alteration in our reality occurs. We would have the overwhelming impression that we were reliving the present, déjà vu, perhaps in precisely the same way, hearing the same words, saying the same words. I submit that these impressions are valid and significant, and I will even say this: such an impression is a clue that at some past time point a variable was changed, reprogrammed as it were, and that because of this an alternative world branched off.
Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of Free Association Radio, aka FAR. This is Robert Phoenix. I'm your host, and today, as always on Wednesdays, we talk about astrology and related systems, divination systems. We have intuitives that show up here every now and then, and today is one of those days. And shortly I will be joined by Sarah, and she is she's a healer. She's a shamanatrix and a temple goddess and many other things. And we're going to be talking with her about her new tarot deck that she has just developed based on Lemurian symbolism and art and mythology, some of which I believe is channeled. We'll find out more about that when we bring her on. And in the second hour, we'll be talking about Black Moon Lilith as it's just shifted into Cancer. And we'll talk about Black Moon Lilith today and kind of how it's determined. It's a unique aspect. It's kind of where the moon isn't versus where it is. And so we'll get into that today, and we will get into the symbolic and the metaphoric meaning of Black Moon Lilith, especially as it relates to the sign of Cancer, where it is now currently stationed. So, and I'll probably do some readings on my own in the second hour as well. I just finished a post on Edward Snowden, and you can go to my website, check that out now, robertphoenix.com. I've been working on it for a couple of days. And what I attempted to do was rectify Edward Snowden's chart. Not an easy thing because the dates on his birth kept moving. Well, we do know that he was born on the 21st of June. So he's got his birthday coming up, which is also the solstice. And originally he was listed as being born in 1984, but that's since changed just over the past couple of days. And I'm not quite sure why that's changed. It's odd. The whole thing around Ed Snowden is quite odd. And he has vanished, gone again. However, he has left lots of documents with Glenn Greenwald over at the Guardian UK, and those revelations will be coming out over the course of the next week or so, probably syncing up with the summer solstice and Edward Snowden's birthday. But as of now, he has vanished into thin air, the same thin air from which he appeared in. He's a very unusual, intriguing, and mysterious character, and I did my best to decipher his chart and rectify it in a way that might be meaningful for people. So you can go over to my website, robertphoenix.com, look at it, and read it and see what the implications are and where this all might be headed. All right, so let's get into the phone lines here. And by the way, I have a new nickname for the chat room. I've decided to call it the Goddess Lounge. How does that sound? So Goddess Lounge is open. Go on in there, fill it up. Have yourself a really nice, fresh acai berry, avocado, cacao, goji berry smoothie on me. All right, so let's waste no more time and bring on our guest of the hour, our guest of honor, artist, tarot interpreter, spiritual healer, shamanatrix, Sarah. Hello there.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you quite well, thank you. How are you?
I am good, thanks.
Good. Well, thank you for joining us and being with the audience today, especially at kind of a short notice. We hooked up about a week ago, thanks to our common friend Linda, who listens to the show and has actually helping you or has helped you with this deck. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
Okay. And the name of the deck is Sacred Awakening, true?
Yes, it is.
Okay, great. Well, let's talk about that a little bit. First of all, I was reading your bio, okay, and I was very intrigued by the fact that you are a bloodline descendant of Mary Magdalene. Okay, that's kind of a headline right there. So first of all, I'd like to know more about that. But how does one figure out that they're a bloodline descendant of Mary Magdalene?
I mean, many of those things I have written in my bio, people channel to me. You know, people who channel like words more. I'm more into channeling art, and I have been told that. I'm not sure if it's, you know, and I thought I wrote it. I'm not sure if it's a physical or just an energetic, but I know I have come in many times to bring back in the divine feminine to reinstall because it has been pushed away. So, yes.
Right. Okay, so you have been told this by channels that you are a bloodline descendant, and whether or not that's verifiable or not, you do believe that you are a spiritual descendant of Mary Magdalene, nonetheless, however that plays out. Am I correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. How would you define the divine feminine?
How would I define?
Yeah.
I didn't understand it.
How would you define the term or the definition divine feminine? Because it's a term that's used quite a bit. And I think that different people might have different interpretations of what that might be. How would you personally define what the divine feminine is?
The divine feminine for me is more an allowing energy and also more of a heart energy. And the entire society is structured on the mind, on, you know, intelligence and all those kind of things. But the feminine or the divine feminine is really more about the intuition, what we feel like, what feels right. And because the deep wisdom for me lies in the heart. And when one connects with the heart, and, you know, you can connect in different levels as well. But there, in the heart, for me, lies some secrets, and I had certain experiences with it. So, and that's kind of what I try to bring in through my cards, through my whole being, just connect people more with the heart again, with their feelings, intuition, because it really has been pushed away so much, just the intellect.
What's really interesting is, I don't know if you're familiar with a system called human design. Do you know about human design?
Yes, I am familiar with, not a lot, but I'm familiar with that.
Just out of curiosity, do you know what you are in human design?
Tell me, there are 3 different ones.
Yeah, there's generators, there's manifesting generators, there's projectors, there's manifestors, and then there's reflectors.
I believe it's generator manifestor, but I'm not entirely sure anymore.
Okay. Well, that would certainly qualify as one of the aspects or types of human design. The reason I bring this up is because Ra Uru Hu, the guy who started human design, he said that humanity and the earth and civilization and culture were created on the backs of the manifestor type. And the manifestor type is kind of like the baron of industry. You know, it is, you know, the dictator, the tyrant, the presidents. I mean, all these very strong manifestations of the expression of power and will and getting things done by any means necessary, right? He said, though, that that model is shifting, and that model is actually moving towards the projector, and that the projector is the new type for the new world. The projector is all about some of the things that you're mentioning here, or talking about in terms of intuition, in terms of feeling, understanding, to a certain extent, even channeling energy, moving energy. So I think that there's an interesting confluence between what Ra Uru Hu says about the projector as it relates to what you would call the divine feminine, and that really it's more than just a feminine experience or classified solely as something for women, but something for the entire planet. Would you agree with that?
I guess. As I said, I don't know too much about this whole human design thing. But
the energy, the divine feminine, isn't just about women. It's about the entire planet. This is kind of what.
Yes, it's men and women, and I don't want to per se say, you know, that the reflectors are more in the divine feminine than maybe other ones. Maybe it's true. I just don't really know. I mean, I'm not a reflector, and I believe I am in the divine feminine, if I understood you correctly.
Well, actually, it was the projector, but that's okay. I understand what you're saying. So you're originally from Germany, is that correct?
No, from Switzerland.
Switzerland. Okay, I apologize.
Yeah.
So what was life like growing up in Switzerland, and how did you kind of arrive at your spiritual awakening, which ultimately led you to the creation of this deck?
Okay, going back to the first question, kind of growing up in Switzerland, I mean, I came in with a certain wisdom, and I was confronted by a whole different world, and which created kind of confusion inside of myself. Like I had intuition and certain knowingness, and yet I was told differently. So Switzerland is for sure, it's a beautiful country, a lot of beauty in a little space, but it is mostly based on structure, on more the masculine mind-based. You have to go and do things and work and all of this. So, but one thing which was amazing in my childhood, I was a lot out in nature. We lived pretty much in a smaller place. I grew up, and I was like in forests and in meadows, and I was always outside, so I connected very deeply from little on with the nature, and I could feel it's just harmony, it's divine presence, and that is something which kept me, you could say, alive, or guided me throughout my entire life. Connection with nature. Just the serenity when you just go in nature, and depending where, yes, you can feel just the presence of the divine, however you want to call it, the one, all that is. And I felt that already as a child.
So it's interesting that a lot of mystics talk about how nature has played an important role in their youth as far as their spiritual development goes. Was this something you were able to stay in touch with, or did you lose it over time and then come back to it?
I was always in touch with it.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I maybe have not lived it as much as I wanted to or could at certain moments in my life. But this was one of the reasons why I also moved to the Hawaiian Islands, because I love so much being in nature, and I wanted to do it the whole year through and not just in the summer. I mean, you still can go out in the winter, but it's kind of cold anyway. But that's one of the reasons why I moved there.
Uh-huh. Now, did your inspiration for the deck come to you while you were in Hawaii? Does Hawaii play a large role in how this deck evolved?
Yes, I would say so, because it is said that Hawaii is the remnant of Lemuria, ancient Lemuria, or Mu. So it's like the peaks of what once was Lemuria, and it still carries the earth, the Aina there still carries that kind of energy. Some people call it the Aloha spirit, but I can feel it still carries that energy. And interestingly, I don't remember a year ago, actually on Maui, I found a cave. I have the gift, one of my gifts is to find power spots.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that because it was so natural for me, but also one of my spiritual teachers, she told me, oh, you have the gift to find power spots. Okay. And anyway, I found a cave, and I felt this energy in there. But then I opened up more for words, and it was an ancient Lemurian cave we went to meditate. And it has amazing energy.
Mm-hmm.
Just that is just one, let's say, kind of a proof for me that the Hawaiian Islands is really kind of ancient Lemuria.
You know, I've had some experiences in Hawaii that I feel, reinforce what you're talking about. Not that I found any power spots, but my experience with Hawaii is that it is this living intelligence. These islands are amazing in that they are interacting with people's energy all the time there. And if you come into the islands with attitude or ego or any kind of structures that are not going to be flexible or receptive or flowing, you will get your ass kicked in Hawaii.
Yes. Yeah, it's all your things come up there, and you have to face them. And it depends which island. It's said that every island represents a different chakra. And for example, half of the part of the cards I created, actually the paintings more, and I started to paint on Kauai while I was there. And Kauai is said to be the third eye, so more the vision and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the cards themselves I created on Maui, which some say it's the second chakra, but yet because it's so close together with others, it has a lot of heart energy as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is maybe a little bit more earthly bound in that sense.
Right.
Like people see on Kauai, it's really hard to manifest something, to bring it out into the world.
Yeah.
So I guess that's maybe, when I look at the big scheme, maybe one of the reasons why I moved then to Maui, it was maybe a little easier for me to manifest it into this tangible 3D world in that sense.
Yeah. Kauai is like the Garden of Eden. There's something very primeval about Kauai that is that on some level can actually be slightly frightening, to be honest with you. I spent some time there, had a very strange experience. I also, my first honeymoon, I spent it on Maui, and I nearly drowned the first day we got there. So this is my experience of Hawaii, But the last time I went, I knew going in that I needed to be very humble to the mother. So I was very low key on many fronts, and it went okay. Nothing too dramatic.
Mm-hmm.
So you did all the paintings for these cards. That's quite a lot of work, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. It was a process and a whole journey for myself. And it took, of course, way longer than I was thinking of. But as I said, sorry, it was a process. And I worked on every card maybe 3 times. And that's like I started to create them. And then I went through all of them. And then I re-evaluated or refelt. The cards I created, it's a lot of intuition, how it feels.
Yeah.
I didn't put certain symbols or whatever on certain places because of whatever. It just felt right. That's just the way I'm doing things so often. And so, yeah, then I just went through every card again and looked at it and felt into it and made changes. And then again, and besides, I had to work to make a living, so I could not all the time work on my cards. So, yeah, but it was a few years of work, yeah.
A tremendous commitment to be able to do this. How many cards are in the deck?
67.
67 cards, and these are all original paintings.
No. I did the paintings, most of them, or many of them, on Kauai, and because I received information. And for example, in a few paintings, out of one painting, I could make like 10 cards because it had just so many information in it. So what I did, I scanned the paintings in. I'm not a painter. I never learned that. I just received information and tried to put it on paper. Even though I was a painter in other lifetimes, but anyway, so I scanned them in and brought them in Photoshop. And I had to learn Photoshop just learn by doing. And then I superimposed images and photos on top of it because then I could create it more the way I saw it and felt it.
So what we're talking about here, this is mixed media. These cards are mixed media.
Yeah. Correct.
It's still a lot of work.
Oh, yeah, it is. As I said, it was, whenever I worked on the cards, I could feel the energies coming in because Ascended Masters are behind it, and especially Saint Germain. So they have their influence a lot in it, and all this felt the energy. And I was told by others who channel also that the Ascended Masters are behind it. And at some point, this was an amazing experience for me. Saint Germain showed up in the form of a cat, and just kind of to honor me. That was really an amazing experience.
So Saint Germain became a cat. He showed up as a cat.
Yes, because he does that. He brings his energy, not just part of his energy, into
how did you
animal.
This is very interesting. How did you determine this?
How did it happen? What did you say?
Yeah.
How did it happen? I mean, I also have it on my website. I did a reading for a friend of mine who actually also has radio shows, and so she gets kind of acquainted to my cards. And so we were in her room on her bed, and then her cat comes in, and she was already surprised that the cat comes into the room because usually he takes off if somebody comes in. And then he came onto the bed in between us. She was totally blown away, like he never ever did that. Never. And then we both could feel the energy. That was just a presence, the energy. And at some point, that cat and I, we just looked into each other's eyes. My 2 fingers of one of my hands touched his path, and we were just gazing into each other's eyes, and it was so amazing, the energy and everything. And I had kind of tears running down, my face. It touched me so deeply, but we didn't really know what was going on. And then maybe this went on, I don't know, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, I have no clue, or maybe longer. Then at some point, the cat got up, energy shifted, and he left.
Wow.
And my friend just said, wow, that's what my cat is usually. And we didn't really know what was going on. Then I gave her a reading, and during the reading, I really felt this, like a drop of information coming down into my stomach chakra. And I just said, wow, this was Saint Germain. It was so clear, the information coming in. And for me, this was such an amazing experience because I knew he just showed up for me to kind of honor me, I guess, because I finished the cards. And it was a lot of work, it was. I get a little bit emotional right now. Just talking about it, I just feel him. It was a lot of commitment and a lot of work, and oftentimes, I didn't necessarily have like a private life because it was working, making money, and then working on my cards. It was also my joy and my journey, but still, it was a big commitment, yes. So that was my experience with him.
Right. What kind of cat was it?
Just a normal, I don't know, one of those stray cats. Normal cats.
One time I was I was house sitting in a town called Bolinas in Northern California, and there was this cat there, and I swear he was the incarnation of Jim Jones. I mean, this cat, he was completely. I had the opposite experience. I had a cat that was evil incarnate. He was a white cat, by the way. So I was just trying to understand, what kind of cat it was. What can you tell people about Lemuria in terms of the mythology, in terms of some of the things that you've learned about and understood, and why Lemuria is an important essence and symbol for the times that we're living in?
Lemuria, it was just more of oneness consciousness, and it just chose that card, for your show, actually. And it was more balanced between the masculine and the feminine, which is the heart and the mind energy. And we lived kind of in both places at the same time. So the intuition and the love and the heart was way more there than it was now. And that's what that is what the global awakening is about, to bring back this heart energy, the divine feminine energy, so we come more into the oneness within inside ourselves. Well, that is my understanding, and yet nowadays we have a different consciousness, because since Lemuria, and now there are so many, I don't know, the different ideas, I guess, about the time frame, but thousands, whatever, of years in between. So we could experience as many things here on this earth plane. Therefore, we have a different consciousness now than at Lemurian times.
Yeah. One of the stories about Lemuria was that, and this came through Edgar Cayce, was that Lemuria was destroyed by Atlantis, first enslaved, by the way, and then destroyed. And apparently Lemuria was here before Atlantis, and it was according to, again, Cayce and some other people, that Atlantis was a colony started by some Lemurians that weren't happy and had been convinced by Lucifer and Orion to break out and have their own experience. But apparently, Lemuria was destroyed by Atlantis and created this bifurcation of consciousness. And we have all this Atlantean technology. Right now, we're having an Atlantean experience, you and I, through the internet. And, and we have all the surveillance, which is taking place as well, which is very Atlantean too. I mean, we're seeing the manifestation of this Atlantean consciousness come forward very clearly. And to balance it out, we do need some of this Lemurian emotion and love and water, so that we can balance out the Atlantean uber brain that wants to classify and order everything. Is this something you've thought about as well?
I mean, yeah, I totally agree with you. That, yeah, Lemuria was more the heart-based, and then Atlantis is really the technology, the mind-based and all of that. It focused a lot on the mind.
Yeah.
And I totally agree with what you said.
Yeah.
I have not really, like, read books, what Edgar Casey was channeling and all of that. But yes, that's why we need to have back this Lemurian.
Yeah.
But yet, as I said, in a different consciousness, because we have experienced both, and so we have a different understanding of everything.
You know what's really interesting about your voice? You're Swiss, but you sound Asian. Has anybody ever told you that?
Do I? Somebody said that once to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe some Asian ancestor genes or past life memories come through here. I don't know.
Yeah. Interesting. Hey, one of the things you and I talked about before the show via email was doing not real big readings, but pulling a card for a person and a caller, and just to kind of tell them about the card and have people get acquainted with the deck a bit. Would you be willing to do that?
Sure. Yeah.
Because we have some people that are stacked up here waiting to talk with you. So let's bring your caller on. Do you have a deck there that's handy, ready to go?
Yes. I just want to shuffle it.
Okay.
And when the person is on, or I guess, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm ready for that. To that.
Here we go. All right. Let's go to the 857 area code. Just go ahead and state your name, and then Sarah is going to do what she does, do her magic, and pull a card from you, and we'll go from there. Here we go. Hello, you're on the air. Hello? Hello? Been waiting 34 minutes.
Hello, my name is Keita.
Hey, Keita, what's going on?
Nothing much. How are you?
Good. You ready to have a card pulled for you?
I am.
Okay, go ahead, Sarah.
Okay. Peter, you said it, you did?
Keita, K-E-D-A.
Okay, let me see what comes up. Sun's definition came up. And sun's definition is without definition. It's about the new energy coming in. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Okay.
And this is more of a balanced energy. We talked before about Atlantis. It's more the mind energy and all of that. So the old energy is an energy with opposing forces. And the new energy is a balanced energy between masculine and feminine, and it does not have like an opposing forces. It expands simultaneously into all directions at the same time.
Okay.
So that's what this card is about. I don't know if this makes any sense for you.
So I'm trying to see. So what you're saying is that there's some new energy that's coming in to my life that I'll be operating in, where it's a more balanced energy between feminine and masculine and feminine, and that.
Yeah. You could say it like this. The energy, the new energy is already here. It's already around us. And in order to access it, one or you need to come more into this balanced state of masculine and feminine to live in harmony.
Okay, is this just like every day, or is this more so like relationships, or is just life? I'm trying to see how to apply it.
The connection is a little bit muffled. So, is this for every day, or what did you say?
Is it more about everyday life, or is this more relationship focused? I'm just trying to figure out where to apply this.
No, it goes in all directions. It's in all aspects of your life.
Okay.
But the key is to access this, to bring it into your energy field, into your physicality. It needs this balanced within yourself of the mind and heart, the masculine and feminine.
Okay, so it has to be done internally before it can be expressed or seen externally.
It has to be done, say it again, please.
It has to be done internally before I can see it externally.
Yeah, in a way, it's an inside job.
Okay.
Does
Yeah.
that make sense, Keita?
Yeah, it definitely does. I definitely need some new energy. Like I definitely do. Thank you. It makes sense. Thank you.
Okay. Go out and get balanced. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go to the 717 area code. Here we go. Hello there.
Hello.
Hi.
It's Daria calling.
Hello,
Phoebe.
Daria calling.
Hi. Hi, Robert. Hi, Sarah. This is all fascinating. Hello?
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi, Sarah.
Sometimes, actually, it's Sa'ara. It has a double A.
Can you say that again?
Sa'ara.
Sa'ara.
Yes.
Beautiful.
It's
Beautiful.
A-A-R-H.
Three
Thank
syllables.
you.
All right. I'd like to have a card pulled. Is there a question I ask, or is the protocol?
Let's just pull in a card, I think.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm ready.
And did you say you have a question about the card? Or
I have a lot of questions. Why don't you just pull a card, and we'll see if it'll answer one of the questions.
Okay.
Let's do that.
Okay. Give me a few seconds here. So I want to shuffle it and then just pull the right one for you.
Okay.
Okay. Reawaken. So it's about reawaken the wisdom inside of you.
Reawaken the wisdom inside of me.
Yeah, what you already know in you. You could say for past life and so on. You could say for maybe Lemurian time life. And really bring in, this divine energy or the divine feminine energy back into your body, channel it.
Oh, I love it. It's interesting. I do.
Good.
I'm all about the divine. Oh, it's wonderful.
And yes, be grounded. You have to ground yourself also into the earth. So you bring it in. So you have these two anchors. You bring in the divine energy, and bring it into your seventh chakra and into your body and all of that. And yet from the first chakra, you're grounded into the earth. So you're anchored kind of in the earth.
Okay.
And it's about, the energy of truth, the energy of knowingness.
This is lovely. It really is.
And grounded.
I like the energy of truth, of knowingness.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Which card was it? Because I was looking at your website. They're all beautiful. I'm just curious.
I'm not sure if this one is on it. The Reawaken?
Reawaken is called.
Yes.
Okay. Very good. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
And I want to say hello to everybody in the chat room and wish them a wonderful weekend. Thank you, Robert, for picking up my line.
Thank you for calling in. And
cool.
soon. All right, take care.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye. Aloha.
All right, let's go to the mystical land of Memphis, where Lanice dwells and is awaiting her spiritual instruction and sacred awakening. That was too Atlantean. Let's go to...
yeah, literally.
Let's go to our good friend Sandra. Let's see if she wants to have her card pulled. I bet she does. Sandra? Hello? No, she's just listening. Okay. Let's go to the 540 area code. Here we go. Hello.
Hey, Robert. It's Eric.
Hey, Ed. What's going on, man?
Hey. I was hoping maybe if your guest could pull a card for me.
Okay, there we go. Sarah, this is Eric.
Eric, okay, I will call her one. Second for Eric. Okay. Eric, it's about the 7 seals, which are the 7 chakras, and it's about the Kundalini. Do you know what the Kundalini is?
Somewhat.
You could say it's a life force energy, and it can come up from the base chakra all the way up to the top of your head. And in order to, let's see, it's about cleansing your chakras. You know, looking at the belief systems in your chakras and shifting the energies within. And so this gives then the Kundalini more of a chance to rise higher up.
So it sounds like a good card.
So Eric, when you do the Reiki stuff, do you work on any chakra balancing or chakra clearing?
Yes, I mean I do work on chakras on many people that I work on. Although it's more of a sense of feel rather than that I directly look at the chakras, I'd say.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Is there anything else you want to share with Eric, Sarah?
It's just, it really talks about, you know, the belief systems in the different chakras and to shift them more into joy and, you know, from victimhood into more joy.
Mm-hmm.
So I can relate to what you're saying. I think that so I can appreciate that.
Yeah, and maybe some homework for you to do, just to look at them. Maybe write it down. What is it? What you believe, feel in each of the chakras, and then just try to shift that.
Could I ask you a quick question, Robert?
Sure.
Astrological question. I know we just entered the shadow of the Mercury retrograde a couple days ago.
Yeah.
And I am refinancing my mortgage, and I had to close on that yesterday. Do you think the fact that I signed a contract in the shadow period is an issue?
No, I don't think so. I mean, to me, it feels like number one, you had to do it then, right? And number two, I think you're still in a fairly safe zone versus being in the thick of Mercury retrograde, which I would definitely have advised you not to do it. The only thing that I could think of is you, instead of having things go completely sideways, you may have the doc sent back to you one time for clarification or some kind of rectification. But I don't see it being an issue, Eric. So I wouldn't worry about it. Yeah, so I would roll with it.
Okay, I appreciate both of your insights very much.
Okay, well, good luck on that. Take care of yourself. We'll see you around.
All right, appreciate it.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Okay, so if people want to get a hold of you, Sarah, they can find you at what? sacredawakening.net. Is that your website?
Yes, correct.
And are you selling the cards through the website as well?
Yes, they can order the cards directly on my website. I have like different options, 1 deck, 2 decks, and also I could do readings, and people could also purchase readings. We could do it on Skype or on the phone.
So you've got readings through the phone, and then you've got the decks. What about instructions or any kinds of seminars and how to work with them? Do you do that too?
I mean, if somebody buys the deck comes along with the booklet, and every card has a message, and also it has instructions for how to use it for the different spreads. So it's totally, all the information is in the booklet, which comes along with the 67 cards. Okay. So it's all there.
And it's an intuitive process anyway, so people can form their own relationship with it and build on it and work with it in their own way. Do you have time and energy to take a couple more calls?
Sure, yeah, we can do that.
Okay, let's go to the 951 and come on the air and state your name and have a card pulled by Sarah. Here we go.
Hi, Sarah. This is Tree.
Hi, Tree.
How are you? How are you?
I am good, thank you. How are you?
Good.
So you would like me to pull a card for you?
Please. Yes, thank you.
Okay. I just want to tune in first with you and just for a few seconds and then shuffle and then pull one. Well, one came out. Actually, a couple of them. Soul's passion is about your soul's passion. The more you go into, you feel more your intuition, your heart, and where you're the mostly drawn to. That's how you find the soul's passion more. I don't know, have you found it, the soul's passion, in that sense already, or?
Well, I think I'm really heart-based, as you were saying. I'm real watery. I'm real, emotional and, totally feminine. And so that's probably what you're picking up. And I don't know.
So, yeah, it also came up the card Body Temple, which means to really feel into your body, to enjoy your body in all aspects. Because it's a beautiful gift. It feels and senses so many things. And then a third card came out, because sometimes in your shuffle, certain cards fell out or fall out, and I always pay attention to that. Instead of picking So those three came out, and the third one is consciousness. So it's about shifting your consciousness.
Okay.
But you could say by feeling more into your body and honoring your body and sensing your body and all of that, you connect more with your soul's passion in that sense, or it comes more available or transparent to you, and also in a combination with shifting your consciousness.
Okay.
Becoming more conscious of it, the more aware of it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think so. Pretty much.
Good.
Okay. Well, thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Okay, thank you, Tree. Let's go to the 203 area code, and I think this will probably be our final card pulling of the day. Here we go. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, it's Ann. Thank you for taking my call.
Hey, Ann, what's going on?
It's very nice out. And I'm glad you're having this show. It's quite interesting, fascinating.
All right, so let's make the connection here. Sarah, Ann, Sarah. Let's see what the cards have in store for you, Ann.
Okay. I'm shuffling here for Anne. Okay, the card resistance came up. So it can have kind of a double meaning. So there is some resistance in your life or inside of you, and it gives you a chance to look at it and really, and to go beyond it. Okay. And kind of surrender to whatever is and go beyond the resistance and strive and really fly like an eagle beyond resistance and strive.
So beyond the system is what you're saying?
No, resistance. Resistance.
Oh, resistance. Ah.
That's the card which came up, resistance. So there's something to look at. There is some resistance in you about something, and to recognize that and to shift it and to surrender to whatever is.
Okay. Sounds like good advice. Thank you very much.
Good.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
All right, resistance is futile, Ann. Just remember that.
Okay.
See you later.
Thank you. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so I think we've pretty much cleared up the queue here, and people have had a taste of your magic cards, Sarah, and sacredawakening.net is where they can find out more about you and cards in general. Now, these are just brand new, right? These are just coming off of the printing presses, correct?
Yes. Yeah, it's correct. They're freshly printed, and they're just arriving at the harbor in that sense. Yes, they were just shipped.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, I really appreciated having you on today and sharing some of your background and some of your island wisdom and giving people a taste of Sacred Awakening. And, hopefully we can have you back on somewhere down the line if you're doing some workshops or some seminars or there's some new developments with the cards. And thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Robert, that I had a chance to share, my gifts and my passion. And, yes, sacredawakening.net. You have all the information there, my cards. I sell prints and readings. So thanks so much for everybody listening in and sending you much aloha.
Okay. Aloha, Sarah.
Aloha. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And
Okay, that was Sarah. She is the creator, the creatrix of Sacred Awakenings, a new divination tool based on Lemurian mythology and essence. More on the essence side than the mythology side, but Lemurian through and through to the core. You are listening to Navigating the Astrological Matrix. I'm Robert Phoenix. I'm your host. And in hour number 2, I'll be cranking out the free reading, cranking up the free reading machine and mini readings. And you can call in and we can continue our Wednesday dose of divination in the second hour. I'll also be talking a little bit about Black Moon Lilith, and I will be talking about Edward Snowden and what's happening with the NSA leaks and why we might be in for a pretty dramatic revelation coming at us in the next week. So we're going to get into that in the second half of the show. So let me play a little bit of music as a little bit of a bridge here. Let everybody take a pee break or potty break or whatever you need to do. Get a cup of coffee, glass of water, some juice, and come on back and get into the second part of today's program. Why don't we do, how about something I want to play here? A little shakuhachi music. Should we do that? Should we do a little shakuhachi? Some space bass. Let's go. Now let's do this. Let's go to sound vibrations, and I'll be back in 5 minutes. Do what you need to do, and when I come back, we'll get into some readings, some Edward Snowden, some Black Moon Lilith. This is Robert Phoenix, Navigating the Astrological Matrix.
One of nature's greatest wonders is the ability of the human ear to distinguish among the millions of sounds around us. Listen. You will hear later how these characteristics are determined by the frequency, intensity, and form of sound waves in the air. Recognize those sounds? Surely. Loudness and quality. Sound. It's these vibrations which your brain interprets as sound.
And welcome back to the second hour of Navigating the Astrological Matrix. I'm Robert Phoenix, your host, and we are going to get into astrology now and look at what's taking place in the skies above us. As I mentioned on the Monday show, we're going to be staring down a supermoon here shortly. I believe it's on the 23rd, where the moon gets very, very close to planet Earth. And, of course, we'll be talking about earthquakes, ring of fire, and all the other things that go along with it. Jim Berkman's name will obviously come up and will make the rounds as Berkman predicts his earthquakes and Earth activity based on the proximity of the moon, how close it is, where it is, all that good stuff. So you'll be reading about that, obviously, over the course of the next week or so. But the moon, in all of its grandeur and fullness, will illuminate the dark skies just 2 days after the birthday of one Edward Snowden, which happens on the 21st of June, which is the summer solstice. And it's also the birthday of Prince William. So I did a rectified chart of Edward Snowden, and I promise we'll get into Black Moon Lilith. And Black Moon Lilith has just moved into Cancer, 0 degrees, with Venus in Cancer, Mercury in Cancer. So that's it's a pretty potent dose of Cancer, of course, in the astrological sense, not in the allopathic sense of the word Cancer or what it means. So we've got Edward Snowden's birthday coming on the 21st. So he's just literally disappeared. I mean, it's kind of odd, don't you think? It's kind of strange. I mean, there he was. He appears in Hong Kong, and then he goes. Now, if the surveillance state is so great, if it's so thorough at what it does, it seems to me that they'd be able to apprehend him pretty easily. And just, from a superficial glance at everything that's going on. So how did he get away, and why is he, for lack of a better term, disappeared? Now, there are some answers to those questions that might be obtained by looking at his birth chart, which I rectified. I did my very best to do this. Now, what's interesting about Snowden is that he was originally stated as being born on the 21st of June in 1984. Now, I thought that this was significant because here you have somebody born in 1984. He's exposing something that's very much akin to 1984. It's like, wow, this is interesting. This is symbolic. This is archetypal, right? Now, over the course of the last few days, his birth date has changed. It's still 6/21, but now it's 1983. So I'm actually glad that I wound up doing this after the fact, if you know what I mean. Because had I done a chart for him based on 1984, I'd look pretty foolish. And I look foolish enough as it is sometimes. But I have to manage that. If we can manage our foolishness, it's okay. Because we're all fools, really. But I think astrologers are really foolish to a large extent because we put ourselves out on the line, some more than others. So I waited. It wasn't anything strategic. It was due to the fact that I was busy. It was due to the fact that I wanted more information to come in. Here it is. So, June 21st, 1983. And I'll tell you how I came about the rectification, okay? Because in rectification, what we try to do is if we don't know a birth time, we try to find an event in someone's life that is a turning point event that we can kind of hang the hat of the chart on. So let's just say that this is really the day that he was born, the 21st, the year that he was born, 1983. If you look back into his history, he had an event where he signed up for Special Forces, and he broke both of his legs. Now, you have to ask yourself, or as an astrologer, I had to ask myself, how would this look in the chart? How would I determine this? What would be the aspects or the placements that would lead me to believe that I could insert something in the chart and begin to come up with a greater overall picture? So I interpreted the breaking of the legs as being both transformational, number one, and number two, altering the foundation of his life, which it did, because after that, he goes and becomes a security guard at a NSA-based security firm. It could have been a satellite of the NSA, but he winds up being a security guard right there on the facility. So the leg breaking changes the entire foundation of who he is. Well, what rules the legs? Well, the legs are ruled by a number of different regions. If you look at the thighs, those are ruled by Sagittarius, and the knees to a certain extent. So the knees and the thighs, Sagittarius, and then the shins are ruled by Capricorn. But Capricorn also rules the entire skeletal system of the body itself. Okay? So we can look at Capricorn, we can look at the 10th house, we can look at Saturn. These are three indicators of where Capricorn gets played out, via the shins, via the skeletal system. And I thought to myself, well, if he had a break, it would change the foundation of who he was. It would alter the entire course of his life. And so doing that, he has Saturn in Libra, and he has Pluto in Libra. Again, this transformational component, right? Saturn leads Pluto. It's ahead of Pluto. Saturn is at 27 degrees. Pluto is at 26 degrees. So what we have is the Saturnian moment and then the transformation of that Saturnian moment because of how Pluto follows right behind it. So what I did is I aligned the chart for Saturn and Pluto to be in the second house, which in my estimation, people say the fourth house is the foundation of the chart. That could be the case. The IC, the home, the womb, right? However, the second house, I believe, is the foundation for the being because it represents Taurus. It represents all these really basic fundamental values of who we are. And if he had a second house event, Saturn, Pluto, and I don't know when he broke his legs. Okay, so that would have been nice to know. But I assigned it to the second house. Now, when I assign those planets to the second house, it makes his ascendant either Libra or Virgo, depending upon, actually it's Virgo, depending upon, it could be Libra, but it would have to be very early, but depending upon where I set the ascendant. Now, I chose 27 degrees of Virgo because at that point, all of the points, the 4 points in the chart are 27, 9, the number 9. And the number 9 is a very interesting number in that it is the end. It represents the end of a cycle, okay? And inside of that is the 2 and 7, the 7 being intelligence, investigation, using the mind, research, the 2 being the number of relationship. And what's really interesting about Snowden, again, whoever he is that he had to forsake his quote-unquote relationship in Hawaii and come forward. So again, I'm playing with some symbolism and some numbers in the chart. So I have it at 27 ascendant Virgo, And the other reason I have it at Virgo is because if you look at him, he looks kind of nerdy. He looks slightly geeky, and yet he's not an unattractive guy. I mean, he's kind of well kept. He's got that metrosexual thing going on, which means that the first house would be mostly Libra. So 27 degrees Virgo, he's also a geek, right? Virgos are geeks. That's what they are. And they're very into detail and order. And so there's a lot of detail and order that he's obviously attended to, right, to get this done. But what's really interesting is some of the other planets, the fallout of the other planets. If you look at his ninth house, what do we have? We have Chiron at 0 degrees Gemini, Mercury at 10 degrees Gemini, Mars 24 degrees Gemini, the true node at 25 Gemini, and the Sun at 29 Gemini, midheaven 27 Gemini. Now, to me, this makes a great deal of sense, because what we've seen here since last Sunday would have been Jupiter and Gemini crossing his Mars, crossing his true node at his midheaven, right? So Jupiter and Gemini is exploding this guy's identity onto the world stage. That's a Jupiter true node, midheaven crossing. And at the same time, it was squaring his ascendant. And I'm going to get into the Sabian symbol for his ascendant, which is really interesting. Now, the other thing, too, which is fascinating about all of this, is that he's a high school dropout. He's a high school dropout. And if you look at the axis between Jupiter and Uranus in Sagittarius in the third house, which is really kind of, learning from grade school up through high school, those two planets oppose Chiron and Mercury and Mars and Gemini in the house of higher learning, universities, colleges, postgraduate degrees. So there is a real imbalance between the two of those. They're flipped, and there's an immense amount of curiosity that he has, but he also has a great deal of impatience. And so when we look at the high school dropout, the profile really fits perfectly between the third and the ninth houses, with Sagittarius in the third and Gemini in the ninth. So again, from a rectification standpoint, this is actually starting to shape up quite nicely, to be honest with you. The other thing, too, is that when we look at the ninth house, we look at foreign countries. We look at places other than where we were born. And where did he choose to unveil his information? 2 foreign countries, one England through the Guardian via Glenn Greenwald, and the other Hong Kong, which is where he did the interview. So again, we have a very strong ninth house emphasis as Jupiter crosses Mars and Jupiter crosses the true node. He's a double agent, though. This guy's a double agent because he has all these planets in Gemini, right, which represent duality, and he has Chiron in Gemini. So he's had to come to grips with being a double agent. That is the Chironic moment that he's had in his life, right? So he's shared all of this with the world. Now, what I feel like here is that there's something else going on, that he is who he is, but not what he seems, if that makes some sense to everyone. And if you read my piece, which I just posted, I need to go back in and edit it a little bit because I've worked on it all morning. I just got it up before the show. But if you read my piece, one of the things that I talk about is, how does this happen? How does this occur? How can somebody do this? Why would the Guardian submit to the printing of these pieces of information and for Glenn Greenwald to have access to Ed Snowden? Why? Because if it was really that detrimental, right, if it was really that damning and that damaging, wouldn't the Guardian just shut it down? Aren't they just like any other portal when it comes to being owned and operated by the establishment? I'm just throwing that out there. It's a rhetorical question, and I'm not the only one asking it, by the way. But let's play along for just a moment. let's play along and say that there is a noble intent on the behalf of the guardian, that this is not some kind of major limited hang, that he's a straw man, that it's a honeypot, that everybody's going to get swept up, in this kind of massive surveillance vacuum and be redistributed in some, red list camp somewhere. I mean, let's just say, for instance, that's not what this is about. Then what is it about? Why would the guardian assent to it? Well, perhaps, here's where it all kind of turns just a little bit. Perhaps there are two factions that are fighting a battle between one another that most of us do not know about or are not aware of. And the promotion of Ed Snowden and the help and the assistance to do this is the actions of one faction against the other. And that the Guardian is an outlet of one faction that allows this to happen versus the other faction. I'm just putting this out there because I think that this might actually be the case. Because of everything that we're dealing with all this Gemini energy, and the Gemini energy that is in Ed Snowden's chart in spades, and we're talking a massive stellium in Gemini. Now, he could not help himself because there's Jupiter and Uranus in the sign of Sagittarius, which is the truth teller, right? I mean, this is what Sagittarius does. Sagittarius is engaged in the act of telling the truth. If you ever know a Sagittarius or have known a Sagittarius, they will tell you the truth. Even if you don't like it, sometimes they'll blurt it out. They can be very uncomfortable people to be around. They're very fun, but they don't hold back. So at some point in time, this guy was going to blow the whistle. It was just a matter of when. And with Jupiter crossing his Mars and Jupiter crossing his true node, and based on the rectified chart, the midheaven and the sun, it was when it was, which was last week. Now, what's really interesting, again, this gets into the whole rectified process, is that he has Venus and Leo in the 11th house. And I think that what he's trying to do, or at least based on what we know about him, is he's trying to create a world in which everyone can live in that is more or less harmonious, fair, and to a certain extent transparent. This would very much be in alignment with Venus in the 11th house, especially in Leo, taking charge, having a fixed relationship to the type of world that people want to live in. Now, he has Moon in Scorpio, which is the keeper of secrets, by the way, Moon in Scorpio, but it squares Venus. So there would be some compromise with that Moon in Scorpio squaring that Venus in the 11th house. And I think we just saw some of that compromise. He also has, if we're playing with the rectified chart, 27 degrees is the degree for the descendant. And Uranus is currently in the 7th house. So he would have unusual relationships that would start and end quickly, like with the soul-searching acrobat contortionist girlfriend in Hawaii. I think her name is Amber Mills. But it would also reflect, to a certain extent, Glenn Greenwald's role in his life as well. I think Glenn Greenwald has Jupiter in Aries, which would put Jupiter in his 7th house of partnerships. He's also a philosophical flip-flopper. At one point in time, he believed in Obama, and he voted for Obama. And then he decided that he wanted to be more of a libertarian, so he donated $500 to Ron Paul. And you can see that again with the Gemini duality in the 9th house, which is belief systems, truth, schools, university laws, philosophy, religion. So he's ideologically driven. He's an ideologically driven individual. And he is on a search and a quest for truth. Now, who is he beyond that? Remains to be seen. It's going to be interesting to see what happens for him when Saturn gets to about 15 degrees in Scorpio in conjunction his moon. That could be a very intriguing time. Very intriguing. But I think we'll know more, a lot more in the week to come. And I say week to come because, well, very soon next week will be his birthday, the 21st. And no doubt there will be more revelations, as Glenn Greenwald has shared with the rest of the world. But apparently, it's not just the revelation of the PRISM program and the amount of data that's being collected by the United States government through the NSA and its surveillance industry proxies, but also there's more. And apparently Glenn Greenwald and the Guardian UK are going to release what's more. So hang on to your hats, boys and girls. This is going to get very, very interesting very quickly. Let me read to you the Sabian symbol for his ascendant. Okay, this is a very interesting Sabian symbol. And this is kind of what sealed it for me when it came to having this be the rectification of the chart. Now again, this is all my perspective. This is my perception. I could be totally wrong, but you get 10 astrologers in the room, you might get 10 different rectifications. Maybe one or two of them might get close to me. Maybe one would agree with me. So we're playing with really a subjective deck here. So this is my subjective interpretation. But in reading it, it actually makes a lot of sense. Let's go to 28 Virgo, which is what the Sabian symbol for the ascendant would be, 28 Virgo. 28 Virgo, a bald-headed man who has seized power. If you've seen the guy who is in charge of the NSA, he's a chrome dome, he's a bald head. But I don't think that this symbol is talking about him. It says here, the sheer power of personality in times that call for decision. Whether at the religious or at the socio-political and cultural level, there comes a time when obsolescent patterns of order and cultural refinement have to be radically and relentlessly challenged. Catabolic personages emerge to seize power and dictate decisions that alter the structures of society or within an individual life. An intense urge for cathartic changes mobilizes the will, and traumatic decisions are made. At such times, the issue has to be met, and ruthless as the power may appear, it must be accepted. At this third stage of the 36th sequence, we face an unpostponable necessity for decision and transformation. Existence is in motion. No static formation, however beautiful and inspiring, can remain long unchallenged. Everything bows to the power of the will, divine, executively human, or satanic. So what we're seeing here through the 28th degree of Virgo, phase 178 of the Sabian symbols, is the force of power that rectifies a situation. That is the catabolic moment in time delivered by somebody through the sheer power of personality. Now, does Edward Snowden have a powerful personality? The answer to that would probably be no. But the act of it is resonant with this degree. Let me read this again. At this third stage of the 36th sequence, we face the unpostponable necessity for decision and transformation. Existence is motion, no static formation. However beautiful and inspiring, can remain long unchallenged. Everything bows to the power of the will, divine, executively human, or satanic. It's where we are at this point, I believe, and what's going to happen on the backside of this is still going to be Virgo 28, a bald-headed man who has seized power, because what's been set in motion with Edward Snowden's revelation is going to be very profound, very powerful, and it's going to be about society dealing with this whole notion of who has power, what and why, and for what reason it exists. Now, what's really interesting is that while all this is going on with Ed Snowden, there's a whole other thing happening with the immigration bill. And it's going to be a huge bill, this immigration bill. And they brought it to the Senate floor without any opposition, which is not necessarily a good thing. Excuse me. What's his name? Marco Rubio. in Florida. The golden boy of the Republican Party is pushing for this. And watch out for him because he, along with Chris Christie, who are these kind of Rockefeller Republicans, so to speak, are being positioned to move into the seat of power in 2016. So this is his baby. Now there's a lot that goes along with the immigration bill. And one of the things, besides the legalization of immigrants, illegal aliens who are already here, however you want to frame that, there's also this piece to it that has identification attached to it. And one of the big debates that's been going on in the Congress has been about biometrics versus national ID card. Okay, so when this bill gets passed, and I have a feeling that it will get passed, once this bill gets passed, one of the things that's going to happen is that there's going to be a national ID card for everyone, not just immigrants or not just the illegal aliens. This is going on behind the scenes now. We may be talking about Ed Snowden, and this might be a very big issue, and it is a big issue, but what's really happening is there's a lot taking place with the immigration bill. Now, we're also staring down the Affordable Care Act, which takes place in 2014. This is huge because one of the things that people are chattering about with the Affordable Care Act is the digital implant. There are people that think that the chip, the mark of the beast, is built into the Affordable Care Act. Now, if you wanted to build a bridge to the chip, then you would have a national ID card. And if you wanted to implement that, you would pass an immigration bill. So what we're looking at here are stepping stones that are taking us inevitably towards some form of mass identification that is digitally powered and based. I don't know if you saw this, but last week in Alabama, police were stopping people on the side of the road and taking DNA samples, which, by the way, will be a part of the national ID card. Trust me on this. Everything will be on there. It'll all be part of it. So while we're talking about Ed Snowden and these revelations, which, by the way, a lot of people still know about. I mean, people have known about the surveillance state and the massive, sheets of data, tranches of data that are collected. We're having a bigger discussion about it, but there are things going on at the same time. Let's be clear about that. So we're going to see more in the next week, and it's going to be fascinating to see how all this unfolds. And it feels to me like there are times when chaos is summoned, and people think that they can control the chaos, and the chaos will be used for some particular end or mean. But the chaos itself cannot necessarily be controlled once it's unleashed. If you open a dam, you can only estimate how far the water will go and what kind of damage will be incurred by the opening of the dam. Now, I think what we've seen here is that the dam has been opened to some extent. And if more comes out, well, then we'll have more and more of the dam broken down and more effluvia, informational and digital effluvia will be released. Where it goes, how it impacts people, we don't know at this point. I will tell you this, though, there are more people than ever before concerned about how things are manifesting in this country. So this is clearly an example of summoning chaos, but not necessarily being able to control it once it's done. Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit about Black Moon Lilith today. Let me go to just see who's in the phone queue, because sometimes I lose track of this stuff while I'm doing the show. Let's see what we got here. We got this, Aha, back on the windows. There they are. Okay, so I want to talk about Black Moon Lilith a little bit, because and I am not an expert on Black Moon Lilith, trust me. I am not. But I also wanted to try to get a handle on it, especially as it relates to the show and the subject matter and Lemuria and the divine feminine and all that good stuff. I think the divine feminine and the divine masculine need to live side by side. That's my own personal opinion, and I am working to the best of my ability in my own life to make that work. So this is from astro.com. It's called Lilith, the Dark Moon. And I'm just going to read this to you. And it's an interesting interpretation. And the author is Joël de Gravelin. Joël de Gravelin. And this is an English interpretation of a French script. So let's get into the astronomical. We know who Lilith is, right? I mean, she was the wife of Adam that got tossed out of the Garden of Eden. Okay, the wife of Adam who got tossed out of the Garden of Eden. There's a famous Sumerian relief that's from 1950 BC. It's actually a beautiful terracotta relief. You can find that anywhere on the internet. Lilith was a babe, total babe. And I have that up on my show page here. So why don't we just do this? Let me read you the interpretation, and then we'll get into the astronomical piece of it. It says, in the beginning was the great goddess, and the goddess was the earth, and the earth was the goddess. The origins of the cult of the great goddess lie hidden in the dim twilight of prehistoric time. The goddess ruled for hundreds of thousands of years. In the course of time, the mother goddess was overthrown and driven under, and the triumph of the most patriarchal of archetypes, Yahweh, God the Father, Allah, was complete in the Judeo-Christian and Muslim worlds. It was only in the tamed form of Mary, Mother of God, that some aspects of the mother goddess were permitted to survive. Various black Madonnas in ancient sanctuaries still bear witness to her. The figure of Lilith represents one aspect of the great goddess in ancient Babylon. She was worshipped as Lilith, Ishtar, Lamashtu. Jewish mythology already puts her into her darker realms, an evil demon of the night, a fitting mate for Satan, lying in wait for men and killing children. So this is one interpretation, a very dark interpretation. If you look at the relief of Lilith from Sumeria, 1950 BC, what you'll see in that photo is to her right, there is an owl. So an owl is a very important totem for Lilith. And to her left, or standing right on top of it, she is standing on top of a cat. Now Lilith is part bird and part woman, if you haven't noticed that as well. Her feet, her lovely, lovely thighs and calves morph into bird claws. And there are wings coming out from behind her, which perhaps suggests that Lilith might have been a refugee from Atlantis and the chimeric experiments that took place during that time. The astronomical Lilith. The moon travels along an elliptical path around the Earth. An ellipse has two focal points. And the other focal point, not occupied by the Earth, has been called the dark moon, the black moon, or Lilith. So if you look at it, you can find this on the internet. The moon is moving around the Earth, and it's the space that is unoccupied by the moon. That is called the black moon. If the moon starts off in apogee of the Earth, right, which is across from it, and it goes kind of around, it comes up the back side, it is the space that started between the Earth and the, so if the Earth and the moon are in perfect opposition, right, it's that field, that space between the Earth and the moon in perfect opposition. And once the moon moves, that space becomes the black moon. That's how black moon Lilith is defined. However, Joël continues, this is a slightly simplified definition, since actually the moon and the Earth both move around their common center of gravity, and the path of the moon is not a neat ellipse, but a rather wobbly affair. One must distinguish between the mean orbit of the moon, which is slowly elongating ellipse, and the actual orbit, which vacillates around the mean path due to interference of various kinds. Just as there is a mean and a true lunar node, there is also a mean and true ellipse and the mean and true Lilith. I think if you are lucky, you'll meet a true Lilith. And if you're unlucky, you'll meet a mean Lilith. And hopefully a true Lilith is in your path and in your destiny. I write true in inverted commas because the moon node is only true about twice per month when the moon is actually on it for the rest of the time. It is as untrue as the mean node. In fact, when working with a point so close to the Earth, one should also take the great parallax into consideration, i.e. consider from which point on the Earth one is actually looking at a point in the heavens. Astrology observes the planets geocentrically as if from the Earth's center and not topocentrically from the actual place of the observer. That's an interesting point. The dark moon has also been defined as the apogee of the moon's orbit, or that point in the orbit farthest from the Earth. Both of these points, the apogee and the second focal point, lie in the long axis of the orbital ellipse. The line of Apsides, seen from the Earth, the line of Apsides, seen from the Earth, they lie in the same direction and therefore occupy the same place in the zodiac. The second focal point lies at a distance only about 36,000 kilometers from the Earth. The apogee is about 400,000 kilometers. Apart from this, both definitions can be regarded as being equivalent because the orbit of the moon continually shifts forward in space. The dark moon moves along the zodiac at about 40 degrees per year. So the dark moon has already been established, right? A complete revolution takes 8 years and 10 months. So what's happened now is that the dark moon, or the path of the dark moon, has just gone through 40 degrees of Gemini. Okay? So now, well, it's reached the 40th, well, okay. It's just gone through the 30th degree of Gemini. So it's taken 40 degrees per year for it to get to this point. So now it's at 0 degrees Cancer, okay? Which would put it roughly, if it takes 8 years and 10 months, it's probably about, let's see, so 4 years, 8 years would be, it's probably about its second year, maybe 2.5 years into the actual arc of the dark moon Lilith, right? Okay. The glyph used for Lilith is a black moon, blah, 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 blah. Interpreting Lilith, let's get into this. She says, during my years of astrological practice, I have come to use the dark moon in all my chart analysis as a complement to interpreting the moon. It would never occur to me to neglect this influence. The dark moon describes our relationship to the absolute, to sacrifice as such. It shows how we let go. In transit, the dark moon indicates some form of castration or frustration, frequently in the areas of desire, a powerlessness of the psyche, or general inhibition. On the other hand, it shows where we question ourselves, our lives, our jobs, and our beliefs. I feel this is important since it gives us the opportunity to let go of something. The dark moon shows where we can let the whole flow into ourselves without putting an I in the way, without putting up a wall in the form of ego. At the same time, it doesn't indicate passivity. On the contrary, it symbolizes the firm will to be open and trusting to the greater world flow through one, relying entirely on the great laws of the universe, on that which we name God. To prepare us for this opening, the dark moon creates a necessary void. This is a very interesting concept. And at 0 degrees Mars, it is at a real portal opening. That 0 degrees is very potent and is everything and nothing. And at 0 degrees Mars in Cancer, 0 degrees Cancer, we're dealing with the most potent distillation of the divine feminine, I think, which is Cancer. So the Black Moon Lilith right now is a way for this energy to come into all of our lives, not in a darkly symbolic way, not in a ritually occult way, but for the greater love of the divine feminine. This is what I'm talking about, the divine feminine. I don't often talk about the divine feminine, by the way. So it must be in the air with this Black Moon Lilith. but it's to allow this energy, this overwhelming compassion, this love, this ability to break down structures in our lives. This is here and present now, and it's paving the way for this grand water trine, which is almost here. So hopefully what we can do is when we hit resistance, when we hit those areas of frustration or castration or rage or whatever it is, and trust me, I came face to face with one yesterday, we have to develop different strategies in order to deal with them because the old ones aren't working. Why? Because we continue to have these things happen again and again and again. So there's a sense of an allowing here and a surrender with the Black Moon Lilith, especially as it relates to Cancer. And something beyond our control, because what the male principle wants to do, the male principle wants to control. It wants to control, it wants to classify, it wants to order, and these things are not bad. They're part of our experience. But the feminine principle doesn't want to do that. There is no differentiation. There is just an acceptance. There is a grand cosmic bosom that is just waiting to embrace the all. That's what it is. So embrace it, bring it in, allow it, let it love you, wash over you. And hopefully you can deal with the patterns in your life in a way that are much more graceful and allowing and account for some form of surrender. By the way, the Sabian symbol for 0 degrees Cancer is, it's about flags. And one flag is raised while another flag descends. Essentially, that's what the symbol is. And that symbol is about the changing of the guard. And it's actually a very fortuitous symbol to come at this time. All right, why don't we take a phone call here? Let's get into the 775 area code. Let's see who they are, what they want to talk about. Hello there.
Hi.
Hey. Who's this?
This is Roz calling from Reno.
Hey, Roz from Reno. What's going on?
Oh, no, I was just listening in to the show. It's very interesting because I'm a Cancer, and I don't know, it seems like I don't think I've been feeling kind of weird. I've just been knowing more for, it seems like almost the last 3 weeks. It seems almost every day something new as far as information is concerned. I'm learning more information. So when I saw the Black Moon Lilith, I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. So I just wanted to call in and listen to the show.
Oh, interesting. So when's your birthday?
7/11. 7/11/69. 7/11.
You're born on 7/11 and you live in Reno. How cool is that? I mean, that's either really good or really bad, depending on where your predilections and addictions lie. So the Black Moon Lilith, Cancer, this is going to be a very interesting time for you in terms of your own personal development, because we have Jupiter coming into Cancer, Black Moon Lilith is in Cancer, and Mercury retrograde. Mercury's in Cancer now, it's going to be retrograde. Venus is in Cancer, so there's a lot of Cancerian energy that you're tapping into in terms of your own personal awareness. And that's going to increase. That is going to increase with Jupiter moving into Cancer. Jupiter in Cancer will be a very interesting time for us.
Wait.
First of all,
good luck.
The United States and Canada are both Cancerian countries. So Jupiter in Cancer could bode very well for both countries in terms of their own identities. But what's also interesting about that is that they're talking about this North American Union that has been on the back burner for quite a while. They may try to move this forward with Jupiter in Cancer and try to conjoin both Cancerian countries under Jupiter in Cancer. So I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I will say that you will see more dialogue about a North American Union coming about as a result of it. But I do think that there is a very Cancerian spirit in this country, and we've been dealing for the past, since 2009 with Pluto in Capricorn. And Pluto in Capricorn has been all about the rise of the corporatocracy. And with Jupiter coming into Cancer now, it's time for people to have a say. And I think that that's what we're going to see for the next year. And especially when it's going to happen very early on too, because we're going to get into a Jupiter-Pluto opposition, and we're going to see very clearly how the voices of freedom and the voices of dissent in some ways will rise against, the machine. It's inevitable, and it's close. We're going to see it by easily the 4th of July. So as a result of that too, though, on an individual level for each of us, I think we're all going to figure out how to take care of ourselves better. I mean, that's what it's about, how to take care of ourselves better. We are living in a time where people are waking up, not just from, the tyranny of rule or manipulation, but also trauma. So many people's lives have been traumatized, and as a result, we're always playing catch up with ourselves. We're always trying to, patch this or patch that, whether it's a bill or whether it's a fine or whether it's an obsession or an internal wound. And I think part of what's going to take place is people are going to say, well, what's really important to me, and how do I take care of myself in a way that I can really tend to these things? I would not be surprised if you see people walk away from jobs that are no longer fulfilling during Jupiter in Cancer, to spend more time with their families or to realign their values. I think that this can be a really powerful time, and you as a Cancer will be experiencing this very innately and very closely to your own personal experience. Does that sound about right?
Interesting.
Yeah. And maybe you could use your intuition to win $15,000 or $20,000 in Keno up there in Reno. What do you think?
Sounds good to me. Once Jupiter comes in, I know Jupiter is pretty lucky. So
Jupiter is lucky, and lucky for you. So you may want to pay to any kind of numerical synchronicities, right?
Say it again.
You want to pay attention to any kinds of numbers that come up for you during that time.
But I see numbers all day. I mean, since I was very, very young, I see synchronized numbers all day long, all day, every day.
Interesting.
It never stopped.
All right. Well, maybe you could put that to use, especially if they start coming up in the same sequence. Hey, Roz, I got somebody that's calling from overseas, so I'm going to grab them. Okay.
Right on.
I'll put you back on hold. All right. Let's go to the 011. This is an overseas call, I think. Let's find out where they're calling from. Hello there.
Hey, Robert. It's Fran.
Fran, where are you calling from?
I don't know. I'm calling from Canada. I don't know why I'm coming up as a 011. I'm not quite overseas.
It's interesting. I've never seen that before. Huh, how
but
you
I'm
doing?
in that North American alliance. Pretty good.
Yeah. I was thinking about you the other day.
You were. I hope it was good.
Absolutely. Always good thoughts for you. So what's happening?
Thank you. Well, I was calling you about the Black Moon Lilith. I was listening today. My mom just left. She's been with me for about 6 weeks. So I have Lilith in Cancer. So this is quite apropos for me, since I have Lilith in Cancer, and my progressed moon is right at 0.
Oh, really?
In Cancer.
Interesting.
So I've been sitting here waiting for this. I thought the Sabian symbol you mentioned about one flag coming up and the other going down it was really interesting for me, and being on point of kind of waiting for. I've been waiting for the piece to fall in to get to the next step, and this is with the water trine, since I have South Node in Pisces, and then I have Neptune and Mars in water. So, and then with Lilith conjuncting my progressed Mars at this time, I thought it's all finally going to come in place, the next step of where I'm going with what I've been working on.
Oh, that's great. And did you come away with any meaningful information or spiritual resonance with your time with your mom here?
Well, I mean, I've always kind of been the mother, and I also have, all the Capricorn moon and Saturn conjunct. So it was more of a healing period for me working. My mother's 86, and she's in fairly good shape for her age, but I'm seeing now, as we had discussed, her decline a little more physically. Mentally, she's very sharp, but she's, her body is starting to slow down, and her ability to deal with stress is much less. But, I mean, she traveled up here by plane from the States and was able to, get around. But we were working on some of our issues. I think it was a real period of cleansing as, Jupiter opposite my sun in Gemini, working through some of those closing of these doors that we're talking about. So I can go forward and do what I need to do for myself as an individual soul, so to speak.
Right. Well, good. That's good. I mean, that's noteworthy.
Yeah, but I did want to tell you, I think where we are going, the princess is having her baby in mid-July. So I think I've always said, although supposedly it's supposed to be a boy, but I've always felt this particular birth is a relevant birth. We'll probably go through Charles's reign. It will be insignificant. His son's reign will not be what everyone thinks he's going to be either. And then if the child, I still think it's going to be a girl. If it's not going to be a girl, then I believe there's something unique about this soul's energy coming in that will be related to the divine feminine. So there's something about this birth that's really going to be significant. It's supposed to happen around the 11th to the 13th of July.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have to wait to see. So, but anyway, I just wanted to call and say hi, and I'll let you know how this Black Moon Lilith keeps working for me with the water trine coming up next year.
Yeah, sounds great. Yeah, send me an email or keep me abreast of what's happening. I have this Black Moon Lilith right on my Mars right now, so.
Yeah, I know.
In the 8th house.
But anyway, I'll end up emailing you because I want you to work with a couple of other things with me too. But I just wanted to call to say hi and let you know I haven't forgotten you.
Thanks, Fran, and I haven't forgotten you either. So you take care of yourself. We'll be in touch.
Okay, take care.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, it's a good friend Fran from north of the border. All right, we got about 6 minutes left in the show here, so I'm going to wind it on down. I want to thank Sarah, for joining me. She is the creator of the Sacred Awakening deck. It is a deck of 67 cards that are inspired by her connection with Lemuria and the Divine Feminine. So I want to thank her for being on the show. SacredAwakening.net, that is her landing place. That's where you can find her. On Friday, I'm going to have Charles Osman on with me. And Charles is one of the smartest people you'll ever meet. And where do I start with Charles? I used to work with Charles at Manga 2000. He was our tech editor. And Charles and I are going to talk about education and how far we are behind the rest of the world, and just not the rest of the world, but the massive acceleration of technology. And we're going to talk about how far our kids are behind in terms of dealing with that. But I think we'll also wind up talking quite a bit about Ed Snowden, because Charles knows a lot about encryption and code. And without divulging too many of Charles's personal secrets, Charles has also worked for a number of agencies that have a foot in the world of Ed Snowden, let's put it that way. So we'll see what Charles will be able to tell us and what kind of information he can bring forth without incriminating himself or others. So that's it. Be sure to tune in on Friday. It's a show you do not want to miss. This is Robert Phoenix. You've been listening to Navigating the Astrological Matrix. Again, I want to thank Sarah. And you know the drill. Use your head to discern what's real, your heart to stay open to what's possible. And have a great Wednesday, the rest of the day. And I'll see everybody back here on Friday at 12 noon, PST. Adios.
We are living in a computer-programmed reality, and the only clue we have to it is when some variable is changed. And some alteration in our reality occurs. We would have the overwhelming impression that we were reliving the present, déjà vu, perhaps in precisely the same way, hearing the same words, saying the same words. I submit that these impressions are valid and significant, and I will even say this: such an impression is a clue that at some past time point, a variable was changed, reprogrammed as it were, and that because of this, an alternative world branched off.